we read the question out, identify the values for which each variable is defined, then expand and simplify. So a reminder, defined is asking for the domain. Sometimes things aren't possible, so we have to say, what's the domain? Where are things possible? In mathematics, if it says expand and simplify, expand would mean you should have no brackets in the end. Usually it's when brackets are there for multiplying, you have to multiply it out. And then it says simplify, right? For radicals, simplify means you have to combine radicals that are like radicals, and you have to write radicals as mixed radicals in lowest terms. So that's all going to come into effect here. So let's go to A. We'll do the define part first. We have square roots, and we have a variable inside those square roots. Is there anything that's not possible? Yes.
Negative numbers.
Negative numbers are bad, right? So we would say it's only defined when the b values are bigger than or equal to 0, when your b values are positive or equal to 0. Next, expand and simplify. So I'm going to rewrite it out here. 7 plus 2 root b, 3 minus 5 root b. Well, that's not a b. And expanding, when you're multiplying like this, each thing in the first one would multiply by each thing in the second one. So 7 times 3, that's 21. How do we do a 7 times a negative 5 root b's? Well, you'd multiply the numbers out in front, which would give me negative 35. And you multiply radicals, but we just have a root b. Then in the middle here, 2 times 3, that will be plus 6. And root b, we just have the one radical, so it just stays there, times by root b. And 2 times negative 5 would be negative 10. And root b times root b, I'm going to write it as root b squared. A square root and a square root cancel out, but we're going to talk about, do we need the absolute values here or not when we take it out? So we've expanded. We still need to simplify. These two are like terms. So I'm going to get 21 minus 35 plus 6 is minus 29, square roots of b. And then minus 10b squared. Question is, do I need this b in absolute value bars?
No.
Not in this case, because
Already defined.
it's already defined to be positive. So I can take those away. They're not necessary in this case. Having them there when they're not needed is not simplified. Right? Simplified means, well, you don't need them there. Some of you lost a half a mark on your quiz because you wrote your final answer as, say, I don't know, the absolute value of 32. I don't know, that's not one of the answers. But what is the absolute value of 32? It's 32, so you needed to write 32 because you're not done yet. I know it's pretty obvious, but that is simplified completely. Now, the first page, we'll go over it. Yeah, there was some mental math catastrophes there for sure. Okay. So there is part A. Part B. Over here. First of all, we have to do where it's defined. So you see you have square root of x. Does it make sense that x then has to be bigger than or equal to 0? Has to be positive. What about y? There's also a variable y. It's also in a square root. It also always would have to be positive. So no absolute values are going to be needed in this question because we've already defined x's and y's to be positive. So that's kind of nice as well. I'm going to rewrite it out. We have 3 root x plus root y. And we have 3 root x minus root y. And then minus, and because it's squared, I'm going to just write it as repeat multiplication. Root x plus 5 root y. And root x plus 5 root y. Okay. First of all, if you notice the conjugates, and you notice that the first two are differences of squares, it'll just be the first one squared minus the second one squared. The first one squared, 3 times 3 will be 9. Root x times root x will be x. No absolute value needed because x is already positive. Minus the last one squared. Root y times root y will just be y. No absolute value needed because it's already defined to be positive. I'm going to put a set of blue brackets around this, and I'm going to put those blue brackets around here so that visually you can see we simplified what was in those blue brackets to what is there. Okay? You have to be extremely careful with that negative sign. So that negative sign would still be there. I'm going to put green brackets around this whole thing and put green brackets around my answer there. Especially with that negative. That negative there, that subtract sign, means you're subtracting all of this. So whatever answer I get when I multiply that out, that whole thing needs to be subtracted. And when you subtract the whole thing, that negative will distribute to each term in there. So those brackets, those green brackets, are extremely important. How do I multiply this out? It is not a difference of squares, right? How do we recognize the difference of squares? Same thing, 1 plus 1 negative. This one has the same thing, but they're both plus. So the best you can do is multiply each of these things out on their own. A root x times a root x will just be x. No absolute value needed because x is already positive. The root x times the 5, well, this is like 5 times 1. That 5 would still be out in front. And root x times root y will be root x y. Inside, I'll also have 5 times 1, which will be 5. Root x times root y. And it doesn't matter if you write yx or xy. Usually we do it alphabetical so we can see like terms easier. And finally, 5 root y times 5 root y, that'll be plus 25 with the numbers out in front. And root y times root y will just be y. No absolute value necessary because y is already positive. Now, I put the blue brackets there so we could see that we simplified the blue, and I put the green brackets there to see that we simplified the green. The blue brackets are actually not necessary, right? They're not doing anything mathematically. But the green brackets are super important because you're subtracting all of that. I'm going to combine my like terms in here, so I'm going to get these two underlined in blue are like terms. So I'd have 10 of those. And this negative, it subtracts this, it subtracts this, and it subtracts this. Those green brackets are really important. That's why I wrote in red, careful. Because that minus sign means you're subtracting all of it. If you get rid of your brackets early, you're just going to subtract the first one and make a mistake with the second one. So I'm going to have, do I have any like terms here? In the end, I'm going to have 9x minus x. Can you see that that would give you 8 x's? I have a minus y minus another 25 y's. That will give me minus 26y. And I have the minus 10 root xy in the end. Okay? So, circle question 8. Try some of those right now.